Here we have the premium 125 GPD RO system. Basically, this is a slightly more advanced version in terms of the electronic control, and it comes with an automatic flush to clean the membrane, as well as a solenoid valve instead of the four-way shutter valve. But basically, overall package, very similar to our standard RO systems in terms of what you get with the kit. Tap is very similar, slightly different design. All the other bits you'd get in the kit is the same as the standard ones. You still have a particle filter, granular carbon block, until we get to, and it again goes particle filter, granular carbon block, until we get to the membrane. The membrane is 125 GPD but instead of 100 GPD membrane, which is basically a 25% more efficient membrane. So with this one, under normal running, you'll waste 25% less water, giving it a slightly, it's a slightly better ratio. 25% isn't huge, but it helps. Where the big difference comes in is on the actual system itself, in terms of its electronically controlled components. But we'll go into a little bit more detail on that and compare it to the standard model a little bit later. And on the system as it is, you've got a few options. As we said, it comes with a 125 GPD instead of the 100 GPD. If you're looking to run it on high mineral content water, this is really the one you want to go for, because it's got a system where, as we explained elsewhere, the RO basically functions with water coming in, and you have a barrier here, and then pure water coming out, and all the salts and minerals getting stuck against the barrier. What the premium unit has is the standard one only has a constant flush across here. It still has that, but each time the system starts up, it has a solenoid valve that it opens up, and it gives it a very high flow flush to actually clean all the debris on the membrane and everything that would have crystallized on the membrane off. And this gives you a much longer lifespan on the membrane, and especially if you're using higher mineral content water, this is a must, because with higher mineral content water, you're always getting the membranes clogging up a lot quicker than normally. With the premium unit, you actually flush away a lot of that build up, and then it gives you a longer lifespan on it. If you're looking to use high mineral content water, one of the options we would recommend is to rather go for the FilterShop 100 GPD membrane, purely because the FilterShop is American membrane, and they tend to be a slightly better quality and get cleaned a little bit better than the other ones. So we'd recommend that option. If you're not using it on the high mineral content, you can go for the 200 GPD membrane as well. It's also compatible with this unit, and that gives you double the amount of product water and half of the amount of waste. Again, that flushing one helps a lot with this one, especially if you're looking at slightly high mineral content water. Typically this one's limited to 200 TDS. You can run it on a little bit higher TDS with this specific machine, because you have that flushing to clean the membrane. And if you're not looking for RO, but and don't want to remove all the minerals, or your mineral content isn't too high, then the nanofiltration membrane is also an option with here. For more information on the nanofiltration, have a look at the nano systems. But basically this will keep half of the mineral content in the water and give you a similar amount of product water, almost to the 200 GPD. So it is a nice alternative for this thing. If you're using it on borehole water, or water which has a bit of contamination in, we would recommend swapping the granular carbon for a KDF and the carbon block for an ultrafiltration membrane, just to give you pre-filters that are a bit more resistant to bacteria, and especially the ultrafiltration membrane will block any bacteria from getting to your membrane, and that'll give the membrane a much longer lifespan. This is a must on borehole and river systems, or wherever you have a tank in the system. It's a good idea. For normal municipal water, the only time you'd want to use this set is if you look at if you change the filters and you find that it's got a lot of sliminess on it, then it means you are getting some bacteria build up in the filters, and this set is basically more resistant to it. If you only have a slight bit of bacteria, you can opt for 2 KDFs instead of the KDF and the ultrafiltration. The KDF is basically similar to granular carbon, but added KDF with the KDF actually then kills the bacteria that starts to grow inside the cartridge, giving it a much longer lifetime. You typically have about 4 times the lifespan on a KDF cartridge than you do on a normal carbon. So if you're in a situation where the carbon filters are only lasting you 2 or 3 months, the KDF really is a very nice option. What you can do as well is you can change the tap. It's always a nice upgrade, and grab yourself a little bit of extra pipe to make sure your installation is nice and neat. But okay, so let's have a look at what is the real difference between this one and the standard one with a pump. Now let's have a look at what's the real difference between the Premium 125 GPD and the standard RO unit. We still have 3 housings at the bottom here. We still have a membrane housing at the top, followed by the T33 final filter here. We still have a transformer and a pump, but then we get to let's get a little bit to the differences. Okay, the other thing that's exactly the same is between the first and second housing, we have a T-piece running here, and that is going to our low pressure switch. If we have a look at the back here, here we have our low pressure switch. As you can see, we've got quite a few extra bits here. To refresh your memory, let's first have a look over at the standard unit. The standard unit, we have water coming in here, and it's teeing off through here to the back. We'll just remove this one as well, into a low pressure switch here. The only difference on the premium unit is the low pressure is actually measured after the first filter, which is nice because it prevents gunk and particles from getting into the low pressure switch. Then it goes through the bottom 3 filters, and after that it comes up into the pump, which is powered from the transformer here. The pump itself then supplies into this 4-way valve here, which is basically how the standard systems, both pump and non-pump systems, turn themselves on and off. It's just a mechanical thing with a bit of which measures the pressure differential and then switches off the incoming water. The nice thing is with the other one is it has a bit more sophisticated system. This thing, if it gets a little bit dirty or it gets something lime scale in, can really sometimes cause you headaches with the system not turning off. So basically this pump is wired with connected on the wiring. The positive line actually goes through the low pressure switch, and then this is the high pressure switch. It goes through the high pressure switch as well. And it's either the low pressure switch if there's not enough pressure, or the high pressure switch if it's reached its target pressure will just cut the power to the pump and turn it off. And your drain connection here runs just through a standard flow restrictor, so there's no flushing mechanism. It's just always constantly flushing at the same amount. So this is the standard unit. Now let's have a look and see how does this compare to the premium unit. If we go back over to the other side. Just unclip this. As you can see on both units, working on it and getting everywhere is quite easy because everything is just on clips, so you can actually get it. Now on the premium unit, it doesn't have that 4-way valve. So what it has on its incoming line, it's got a solenoid valve here, which is a physical valve that's controlled electrically. Now the solenoid valve will close when either the low pressure switch says there's not enough pressure to turn on, or the high pressure switch says, alright, we've reached our target, the tank is full or the tap is closed and we don't need to make water again. And the solenoid valve is a much more definite way of shutting off the water, and you're less likely to have the system continuously running and wasting water. From the solenoid valve, it then goes into the pump, which is very similar to the other one. The other one just doesn't have the solenoid valve in place. And then from the pump, it goes into the membrane. The membrane, to install it, you just remove this clip, push the fitting in, and it's actually demonstrated. I'm just going to push it back here. Just remove the clip, push that part of the fitting back, then you can remove the pipe. Then you can unscrew the housing, insert the membrane with the black seal on the cap side. These quick fittings are very nice. If you push it in slightly there it locks, but it has an O-ring in there, so you need to apply a little bit more pressure, then it slides in deeper. And then these little blue clips are just to prevent you from accidentally releasing the pipe. So we go in through the membrane. At the membrane we split in two directions. So we remove the final filter here. From the membrane we then split the one at the tip is always your non-return valve. This means this is the product water. Now in this case, since we don't have the four-way valve, we're just running into the high pressure switch here, and it's a nice adjustable high pressure switch, so you can actually set the pressure you want the system to run at. But they come preset, so if you're not very technical, we recommend just leaving it at its standard settings. Then it runs into the final filter, which then splits to your tank, and down here to your faucet. So that side's fairly similar, except we're not running through the four-way valve here because the high pressure switch controls the solenoid valve. But what's a very nice part is your drain connection here. The drain connection runs down into this solenoid valve here. This solenoid valve has got a flow restrictor like the other system has in that barrel built into it. So it constantly allows that 300 milliliters per minute through. But the big difference is when the system starts up, this one actually opens up completely and allows you to flush the system with the full force of the incoming water. So you have a much higher volume flush going through there than you would have with just the standard flow restrictor. And it typically runs for about 18 seconds when the system's starting up, and then it closes again, and then it builds up pressure to push the water through the membrane. But this little one is great if you want a longer lifespan out of a membrane, or especially if you have quite a high mineral content water. It really makes a big difference. And to assemble the system again, nice and quick. Let's just run through the different components. You just have a power plug for your power. Your incoming water connects here. Your drain connects to the solenoid valve at the back here. Your tank connects to the side with the T-piece of the final filter, and your faucet connects to the other side of the final filter. And that's basically it. Here we have the different faucet designs for the under-counter systems. We have our ASO1, which is our standard one, which is a 3-lever tap. It is a completely chrome. It is still a very nice design and it's very popular. This is why we use the standard. Then here we have our ASO3 design, which is a very similar design. The neck and look of it similar. It's just that this one is a single lever tap instead of a 3-lever tap. And then we get to our ASO4 designs. Now there are two options here. There's a brushed finish and a chrome finish to it. They're very nice taps. They're quite a bit taller than the other designs and a lot more modern looking. And it's just a 90-degree turn on the lever there. This here is a brushed finished tap. And this one here is a chrome finish tap. On the design itself, they're identical. It's just the physical finish that is used on the metal. One of the options which we really would recommend, especially if you're doing a DIY installation, is this leak detector tray. Basically what it is, it's a little tray where you actually clamp this onto the middle housing with the bolts provided, and your unit actually stands inside this tray, or the tray hangs underneath the unit. And your incoming water line, you then connect your water in and the water to the system through this little mechanism here. The water goes in and it goes out here, and it basically is a mechanism that uses these little tabs, which we do have extra ones available if you want to purchase replacement ones. And the tab physically expands when it comes in contact with water, and it triggers the lever to flip over, which then shuts off the incoming water to the system. So the idea is that if you have a leak happening, or if you have a pressure spike or something damaging the system, that this will turn off the water supply heading to the system itself. Installation is quite simple. As I said, you clamp this onto the bottom of the unit. This mechanism gets put here. It does come with little screws and a bit of double-sided tape. The double-sided tape from the manufacturer unfortunately isn't the best, so we do recommend either using something like PVC weld glue or a more heavy-duty double-sided tape to actually fasten it securely here, as the ones provided from the manufacturer isn't ideal. There's also little feet provided in the kit which just stick onto the bottom if you want this to physically stand, if you want the unit to physically stand on this in the cupboard. Alternatively, you can mount it to the wall, or it can just hang off at the bottom of the system. It does, however, make your maintenance a little bit more annoying, as you first have to unscrew the system and disconnect the feed water on here before you can actually remove the housings to do your maintenance on the system. If you don't want to go through the hassle of installing the leak detector, or if you just want something to warn you in general if something goes wrong, we have got this leak detecting alarm, which normally you just put down in the cupboard. The batteries last quite long, and if there's any leaks, you just there we go. As soon as the water connects these 3 contact points at the bottom of the system, an alarm goes off, audibly telling you that something is wrong, come have a look. Now, this is a very useful thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't really help if you're not at home, but as a easy to use and nice thing to just add on, it really is handy, because it is a very frustrating thing if you end up with wet cupboards. Water pressure can be a huge issue for these filter systems. They're rated to handle 6 bar pressure, but we very often find in some areas where people either don't have a pressure reducing valve in front of the whole house, or if it's something like an apartment building which is up quite high, you find, and you're staying on one of the lower levels, or just certain areas where you're very low compared to where your water tower, water reservoir is, you get very high pressure. Now, the standard pressure protection valve that we use basically just cuts off the water supply at 5 bar. So if you constantly have high pressure, it's a bit of a problem, because then your system might not always get water. Now, if you're in a situation where you either want just a little bit more control, or you know you consistently have very high pressure water, we actually have a tiny pressure reducing valve, which is an adjustable unit that you can set at the top here. If you're using one of these, we really recommend either borrowing from somewhere or getting the guy doing the installation to just check the pressure it's set to with your water. Because it's adjustable, you can easily set it too low or set it to a point where it's not being very useful at all. But the nice thing with this is if you constantly have high pressure, this pressure reducing valve can actually bring that down to a level which is safe for your system to use. Another thing really to keep in mind is how much pipe are you actually going to use for your installation. What you need to remember is you've got a pipe running to the system from your water source. You've got a pipe running from the system to where you want to place the tank. You've got a pipe running from the system to an easy to use drain point. And if you have a little bit of extra pipe, a really nice option is to actually take your drain point out into the garden and let the wastewater rather water the plants. And then finally you need to run the pipe from the system to where the faucet will be. Now, the physical systems vary between 3 and 5 meters that come with them. So it's okay for a minimum installation, but we really recommend go measure out what you will really need and order additional pipe if you think your installation will require it. Here we have the standard filters like you would get in the bronze RO system. Now, what the things to look out for is this particle filter not getting dirty too quickly. The carbon filters, whether they get bacteria buildup, if that means they're becoming slimy. Now, if you find something like this, what do? If you find that these two are becoming a bit slimy, that probably means, if it's within, say, a 6-month period, and they're quite slimy, that probably means you've got quite a bit of bacteria in the water. Now you have two options. First, reduce the replacement time, so try it for 3 months, and if you find that after 3 months they're slimy again, that does mean you have bacteria in your water. Then you have two options. The one we normally recommend is to go to a full bacteria filter set, which basically changes the granular carbon for a KDF. KDF is an additive that physically kills bacteria inside of the carbon. It also removes some heavy metals and a few other chemical components. But the main thing is it has the ability to kill the bacteria growth inside the cartridge, giving it a longer life. You can either go for a set of 2 of these, but then you still don't have something preventing the bacteria from getting to your membrane. What we normally recommend is to place a ultrafiltration membrane as your last stage then. Now this is what the silver and gold systems use. It basically is a physical barrier at less than 0.2 micron, which is small enough to physically stop any bacteria getting through to your RO membrane. Now what this does is it means it doesn't matter if you have a little bit of the bacteria coming through here, because we're physically blocking it here to get to the membrane. If you're planning to use this system on a borehole water, we definitely recommend using this set, as most boreholes do contain a little bit of bacteria, and the RO membranes, although they do physically stop bacteria, they don't last long if you use them in that way. And then it's a lot cheaper to rather use the more expensive pre-filters than get into a situation where you have to replace an expensive RO membrane once a year. This is a mineral injector. They normally come in different colors and there's a few different variations. Now a lot of people add these to an RO system to add some of the minerals that RO has taken away back into it. Now they do work out quite expensive to maintain and normally don't give you the best taste. So what we recommend, if you're looking for something like this, unless there's a specific technical reason why you can't, instead of adding a mineral injector, rather swap your reverse osmosis membrane for a nanofiltration membrane. Now, where reverse osmosis removes 99% of the salts and minerals from the water, and it gives you a very low mineral content water, which some people like and some people really don't. For example, if you're very active, exercise a lot and have a low salt diet, you want to stay away from RO. Then nanofiltration is a better option. What nanofiltration does is it actually only removes 50% of the minerals. So you still get the same effect with a very different tasting water, but instead of having to add minerals back into the water, you're just not removing all of them. And then this membrane can last you 3 to 5 years, depending on how often you change your pre-filters. So it's a lot less maintenance intensive, and it normally works out cheaper in the long run, while still giving you a better tasting water. The different size storage tanks available with the RO systems. Basically the reason why you need a storage tank is the RO itself provides you with a slow trickle of water. As the standard units with 100 GPD membrane only provides about 10 litres of water per hour. So as you can imagine, if you want to quickly fill a few bottles or fill your kettle or the few pots you want to fill for cooking, that's going to be frustrating if you're going to need to wait for the system. Hence the tank. The tank basically works, it's almost got a balloon inside, and then you push water in and the water compresses the balloon and then increases the air pressure inside. And then once the water and air pressure is equalized and you draw water from the faucet side, then that air pressure pushes the water back out, because then you then have lower water pressure again. Now, the standard one will give you between about 5 to 9 litres of water. The higher pressure you use on the incoming system, like this is the standard one, but if you're using the system with the pump, you have a chance that you're probably going to store more water in the tank as well. The tanks all have standard air valves. You normally want them at about 0.8 to 1.1 bar, and it's normal fittings like the garage use. If you pump them too hard though, you can't compress the air and then you get no capacity in the tank. It is something you could play around with, but normally the preset value is okay. As you can see here, we've got different sizes available. The standard one is nice as it's normally easy to fit within a shelf size. Then here we have a 19 litre one as well, or 18.9 litres, 5 gallons. It is a little bit larger, just if you want that few extra litres of storage. We currently don't have the 40 litre one on a display model which to use for the video, but here's a 74 litre one. Just to give you an idea of the relative sizes, the 40 litre one is about in between these two. So if you are looking to use it at an office, probably the 74, the 40 litre is a nicer thing to have, as you'd often find around lunch times or so on, everyone would come and draw water, and then having a bigger buffer is definitely a nice option. For domestic systems, what we personally find works really well as well is all of these tanks connect to the tank side here of the T33. But if you want to increase your flow at the faucet itself, on the line between the faucet and the machine going from this side, you can actually add a second little tank as a buffer to give you a higher pressure. We actually have a kit which comes with a tank, a little bit of pipe, a valve and a T-piece to tee into this line. And I've used that on my system, and what you actually get is you end up going from filling a 500 ml water bottle in about 14 to 15 seconds, it takes it down to about 7 seconds. So that having a tank close to your tap as an extra buffer actually increases the flow rate you can get from the system quite significantly. Me personally, I feel it's a great thing just to have that water on tap much quicker, and then you can have a larger buffer in the normal tank position if you have needs for larger storage. There are other options available. You can have plenty of these tanks connected, or you can just have one standard tank with the system. In the end, it depends on what your needs are.